Welcome to Homeschool is a Work of Heart. I'm Melissa Webb, and after years in the classroom and years homeschooling and supporting those in home education, and even more years creating curriculum for families like yours, I have learned this. Homeschooling isn't about perfection. It is about purpose. And this podcast is here to encourage you, to guide you, and to remind you that what you're doing truly matters. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Homeschool is a Work of Heart. Hey, I have to give a big shout out to Yvette, who was kind enough not only to leave a really remarkable review, which I greatly appreciate, but she had also shared with me the challenge behind it. And yet she still figured it out. That just means the world to me because I know it wasn't an easy task. They don't make it super easy, at least on Apple Podcasts, to even leave a review. And so, Yvette, I just thank you so much. And let me just read to you guys what she said. It's so sweet. She said, we're taking Mrs. Webb's 8-week writing crash course. And every Friday, she sends the link to her podcast episodes. They are very helpful. They remind you that you are not alone in this process. And her wealth of teaching and parenting experience bring encouragement and support. Each week, she addresses common obstacles or new ways to approach teaching and motivating our children, as well as keeping the parents uplifted and focused on our ultimate goal, which is helping our kids to thrive. I have enjoyed this exceptional podcast. I appreciate that so much, and thank you, Yvette, for doing that. If you've been wanting to leave a review, I just want to encourage you to please do that. It means the world to me, and Yvette figured it out. I know you can too. All right, so I want to talk to you guys this week about why kids forget and why it's really okay that they do. Over here in our most popular program, our Clubhouse program, we are busy reading over 100 student essays. My team is remarkable. I just have to say that. I love them so dearly. I'm actually wondering, should we do like a team podcast? I could invite them and we could record something together. Maybe I should toss that idea out to them. I don't know. Is that something you'd be interested in? Would you like to meet them, hear things from their perspective? Especially as the ones who are reading and reviewing all of our children's writing. Like, what is it that they're loving about it? What are some of the biggest things they see as children grow? Maybe even like some of their biggest frustrations. I will tell you one of them because it's been mine as well. And it's so normal to get frustrated over certain things that our kids do, whether they're our children or if we're teaching other children. It's just so normal. But it's really frustrating to open a student's paper only to see the student fail to follow the writing process the way that we taught it. When that happens, we always redirect our kiddos, but they do not receive the full review that they really would love, like everyone else gets, until makeup month, assuming that they take the time to fix things, which the majority of them do, and then they submit them again in makeup month, and we read it a little later on. And let me just be so clear and say, these are really good kids. Homeschooled children are tremendous little human beings, and they are just here learning as they go. So this past week, a student got that directions video that's like a review that says, hey, I'm so sorry you're not going to get your full review. Here's why. And for this particular student, he had not completed the STAR revision step that we teach. He didn't do that step. And so he emailed me and he apologized, which was very sweet. He said, I am just so sorry, Mrs. Webb. I completely forgot. I forgot to do the STAR revision step. I could completely tell that he was frustrated and maybe even a little bit embarrassed because he actually skipped the same exact step last month. So, of course, I yelled at him, belittled him, I shamed him. Not. No, of course not. I said, hey, kiddo, I bet you were rushed trying to get caught up and you were trying to make the deadline. You know what, buddy? It happens to the best of us. In fact, forgetting things is very human. So I want to focus on that today. Our kids forgetting or neglecting to do something, however we want to pose that, it does not mean that our children are not smart or that they're not paying attention. And I get it. We might want to say, oh my gosh, he should have remembered, right? But actually, no, that's sometimes quite wrong because forgetting is part of how learning works. So, what a perfect topic for this week. I have a few encouraging tidbits of science and some information that will back me up on this week's topic, which is why kids forget and why it's okay. So, the first thing we should mention is that forgetting is not a failure of our brain working. It's actually a reflection of our brain working properly. And I'm going to explain what I mean. The brain filters constantly. We get so much information thrown at us every day. And from all of that information, we have our thoughts about that information. Now, depending on what research you want to look at, anywhere from 6,000 thoughts a day to 60,000 thoughts a day, I've heard all the numbers, but let's just say it's somewhere in there. That's a lot. And the human brain cannot keep everything. I mean, it's not humanly possible. In fact, our brains were made to forget the things that aren't as important to us so that we have room to prioritize what does matter the most. So while I could sit here and say, well, learning how to be a strong academic writer is going to serve these kids so well in their future lives, depending on what careers they go down, they need to be able to communicate in the written word. I can see its importance. Does a child? No. Does their brain say, oh my goodness, this information is so critical to my future success? No, it doesn't. So it doesn't surprise me when a child says, oh, I forgot again. I know I was supposed to do that, but I forgot. It just means that child's brain doesn't see it as super important, as well as it's going to need more repeated exposure. That's just how we learn. But I want you to just think about this. If we remembered everything that came at us equally, we would actually struggle to function. So forgetting is not a flaw. It's not in your child or in you for that matter, but it is a glimpse at how our brain is functioning. So just something to keep in mind. Now, like I just mentioned, learning requires repeated exposure, more than we even think. I've mentioned Bob Proctor before, and one of my favorite quotes by him is the one that says, when we read a book a second time, we aren't going to see something we didn't see before, but we are different. Therefore, the experience will be different, or something like that. It's not exactly how he said it, but the whole point being repetition is great, not because the book's changing, but every time we read something, we grow. We change, we learn something new. So when we revisit it another time, we're going to get a different thing out of it because we are changing. There is something new in ourselves that wasn't there before. Repetition is good for us. And I wonder, do you remember memorizing your address or your phone number as a child? Did you just have to do it one time and you just remembered it? No, probably not. We need multiple exposures, and children do too, whether it's subject matter or various skills, just anything related to learning. One lesson very rarely equals mastery. So we need to be doing the repetition, and spaced repetition builds memory. And that's why with time, when our students repeat our writing process 1 month after another, they learn it. We don't teach something once and then just move on. We're constantly circling back. We're like, I know we did persuasive last month, we're doing it again. I know we did expository last month, we're doing it again. We practice again and again and again, and it builds over time. And it's why I don't get mad at students for forgetting something. They are in the learning process. It's okay. I always remind students and parents, learning is a marathon. It's not a sprint. The last thing I do want to mention is that it's so important to practice remembering, because retrieval of information that's been put into our brain is going to strengthen our memory skills. So I want you to ask your kids to remember all the time throughout the day. It could be, sure, you just learned about the Andromeda galaxy. So you're like, I want you to tell me everything you remember. Okay, sure. But it also could be like, hey, let's make pancakes. What ingredients do you remember that we need for pancakes? Or maybe you're driving to grandma's and you're like, hey, you get to be the map today. Tell me how we're going to get to grandma's house from here. And let your child remember things multiple times out loud. Very important. Back when I was in college getting my teaching credential, we were taught the Madeline Hunter lesson plan method. It was a 7-step lesson plan. Totally aging myself. I don't think they even teach this anymore. But it was ingrained in my brain, and it's still how I approach lessons. So step 1 is always an anticipatory set, something that kind of sets the mood, gets the kids kind of excited about what you're going to be doing. Then you go into the objective, like what's the purpose of what we're going to be learning. For this child that I was giving as an example earlier, we're going to learn how to revise. And I'm going to tell you why that's important, because every time we put our eyes on our paper multiple times, we have a chance to make it better. Then I'm going to give some instruction. I'm going to teach you the STAR method: substitute, take, out, add, rearrange. After the instruction, I'm going to actually model it with an example and be like, here, let me show you how I would do that with my paragraph. And then step 5 is so important. It's the guided practice. It's where you don't walk away. It's not independent practice. That's step 6. Step 5 is guided practice. That's when I ask students, explain it back to me now. You're going to take a look at your paragraph. What did S stand for? What did T stand for? How about the A? What about the R? And I have them practice remembering. That is really important. Then sure, they do their independent practice, and then step 7 is always the closure. But that step 5, explain it back to me. It's really important. And they may struggle remembering. They might be like, oh, wait, no, did it, right? You can see it. You can see them struggling. And you know what? You should be celebrating, because that is good. Struggling to remember is what makes our remembering muscles stronger. So let's work to be less frustrated when our kids are like, I forgot. And let's be more compassionate and understanding. These are just young learners, and we can help them. We 100% can stand by them and help them out. We want to remembering that forgetting is not a sign of failure. They need more practice. And remembering is something we can practice in so many creative and unique ways, okay? So if your child forgets something that they just learned yesterday, I get it. It can feel frustrating, but take a deep breath. And believe me, chances are so high, nothing has gone wrong. They're not behind and they're not failing. They are learning, and this is what it looks like. And that's a win. And when we respond to them with patience instead of frustration, we give them exactly what they need to grow. So let's not forget that. Right on. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And hey, if you are feeling stretched thin and you would love some support with teaching writing, I offer programs designed to make that part of homeschooling easier and more enjoyable for both you and your child. I also have free resources on my website, so please be sure to check those things out and subscribe to the podcast. You do not have to do this alone. Right on.